I want to start with a question that came in on Facebook. Somebody wants to know, how do I help my son at school with depression due to lack of friends who will even talk to him? He is in middle school.
Oh, middle school is such a tough time for our kids to begin with. Well, there's a shortcut, and then there's the sort of longer actual fix. This is kind of a problem that a lot of our kids have, obviously, because they're somewhat delayed or have problems with social skills. And really, the right way to deal with it, which might take a year, it might take longer than a year, is to teach your child the things they need to know in order to be effective and successful socially. And the best way I've been able to do that and have sort of provided information to families to be able to do that, or teachers, is through Skills, our online program. And specifically on Skills, there's several different curriculum areas, and we have areas that are called social, cognitive, and executive functioning. And what I would do if I was this parent is I would just become a member for like a month or something, go on there and look through those curriculum areas. Depending on the age of your child, you'll have either a lot of things to teach or just a few things to teach, but the system will tell you exactly how to teach those skills. One of the examples I give when I'm lecturing is a lot of people say, oh, just put your child in school, they'll model and they'll learn and so on. And I find that's not really true. In fact, I find what you're going through here is more common than most people would expect, because we put our kids in these, to begin with, for all kids, middle school is a difficult time because kids develop at such a different rate, and you have some children who become bullies, other children who just like to make fun, other kids who are going through their own sort of ego stuff, and it's a tough phase, and to make sure that our kids survive and flourish during those years is tough. It really is. So it would be important to teach skills like how to join a group and socialize, how to communicate with a bunch of other kids. How do I pay attention to the subject matter that's of interest to other kids rather than just myself? What are the things that I have to avoid doing that make me seem odd? Those types of things. And so there's a lot of just content material. Aside from that, there are generally a few things that make our kids popular. So this is the shortcut.
Yeah.
Some of our kids have incredible talents in music, let's say, or art. And I really strongly suggest to our families to develop those, because they always come in handy. Logan is a good example of that, where he may have had difficulties with social skills, but I mean, this is one of our little boys who was actually, when he was very young, had one of his self-stimulatory behaviors was shaking his hands like this, and we sort of turned that around into drumming, and he is spectacular at drumming. And I don't know if we've shown on this show, but he's been in the talent show, and it's spectacular when you see him doing his little drum thing, and then the girls in the front row are all screaming for him, and so taking our kids' special skills and turning them into something that other kids are envy, really, whether it's music or art ability or acting even, or sports. Those are the things that tend to make our kids more popular in middle school. Now, and of course, have all of that aside, you just want to make sure that regardless of how popular they are, I mean, you do want to do play dates, and you do want to bring kids home. And there's a lot of research that shows that if the child has sort of a cool object, let's say Dr. Dre headphones right now, then that will make the child more popular amongst friends. So, there's different ways to approach it. We criticize those things. We often say like, oh, this kid always comes to school with something cool. But the truth is, other kids of the same age don't look at it that way. They just think like, oh wow, he's got the coolest music, the coolest headsets, whatever. And those are the things you do. And it's when you talk about other kids coming to approach and talk with you, the research is predominantly take an object to school that's of interest, and it'll draw a lot of attention, and others will come and ask you about it and talk to you about it.
And I think many people could get judgmental about that, about, well, why are we making it about things? But I think for those of us who are parents of these individuals on the spectrum, I don't know about everybody else, but I think, how can I get him through these years? It's not going to be the rest of his life, but this is a period of time when the other kids, that's their currency.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, we criticize a lot of things that we do ourselves. Like, I mean, look at the entire world and how the world responds to celebrities.
Yeah.
I mean, there really is nothing different with a celebrity than the fact that perhaps they're very beautiful, or they're funny, or they have a lot of money. I mean, and the truth is, you know, people are drawn to celebrities for a variety of those reasons. And it is all materialistic type stuff. But nevertheless, we're talking here about therapeutically what to do to make our kids more popular.
Right. It gets it done.
Right.
So great advice. Right. We are going to take a short break, and then we're going to be back with more Ask Dr. Doreen. Stick with us. Welcome back. We are here with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh, an expert in the field of autism, and really, I always like to say a visionary, because that's what you are. You have the ability to see what our kids need today and down the road, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You are phenomenal at taking other people's perspective. You put yourself in their circumstance and see it in a way that I don't know anyone else who does. And so it's a treat and a delight to have you here answering our questions.
Great, thank you.
We had some more people writing in questions tonight. I'm going to start with this one because I think it's really interesting. Hi, Dr. Doreen and Shannon. My son just started ABA with CARD. I have my IEP meeting today. All the assessments that were done by CARD in school districts show great delays and deficits in all areas. It's depressing to see how all these low scores, how much he is delayed. My concern is, would ABA help him catch up with all these categories of delayed aspects, educational and normalcy? He is turning 3 on Sunday. We got him 40 hours of ABA. You're on it, and I love that. According to the school assessments, he meets all criteria to receive everything. I'm obviously going to try to take OT and speech and continue with CARD for ABA. But they continue to write, I'm helpless, please help. I'm the mother of a child who was receiving 10 hours through the regional center before. I have him center-based in your Garden Grove office right now, and she writes, thank you and God bless you. And I just want to stop and say for a second, for those of you who are watching and you have heard everyone come on the show and talk about that 25 to 40 hours, and maybe you've gotten 10 or 15 hours, this is an example of one parent who asked and heard that's not enough.
Right.
And got it done.
Right, absolutely. So kudos to you for getting those hours. That's a hard thing to do. You've done everything that you should do at this point, and so to answer your question, yes, the purpose of ABA and the way, especially the CARD style of doing behavioral intervention, is really to catch your child up on everything. So, yeah, academic being the least important to me at this point at age 3. But yeah, we're talking language and social and cognitive and everything, all the different areas. And so your lesson plan, your programs will consist of a variety of lessons within those all areas of functioning. And your supervisor will choose those based on more on the ones that are the most delayed, and so that we can kind of get your child ready for school over the next year or two. And don't worry, you're in the best place right now. Your child's just turning 3. This is you have intervention at an early age. That's fabulous. You have a lot of intervention. You're with us. We're a good company, so we're going to do well with you. And the only other thing I would do is 2 things, I guess. Try to get on my calendar at some point. You don't need to do it right now. You can do it over the next year so that I can see you at some point here in LA, in Tarzana. When I do that, you come with your supervisor, maybe a senior therapist as well, and we will review the whole thing together, and I'll make sure things are on track. And secondly, just make sure that there are no medical underlying issues. Look and make sure your child's sleeping well, make sure you're on a healthy diet, make sure you have tested for allergies or things that your child is not able to process very well. Possibly, with a lot of our kids, that would be gluten, casein, maybe corn, maybe soy, I don't know. But, the stronger your child is immunologically and can sleep well and all that sort of stuff, then the faster they learn and the better our kids do. So that's something important to do. Check the medical status of your child and stay involved. If you, and I will be the first to say this, I have, I don't know, somewhere close to 200 supervisors in this company. And we put a tremendous amount of effort on our clinical quality. I mean, we have the most senior of our staff doing our trainings for our supervisors. Like our training organization, IBT, is some of those folks most of those guys have been with me for over almost 20 years, and so they're the best of the best people, and they are just fabulous. The supervisors at CARD receive incredible training, and they receive incredible ongoing oversight. Our quality assurance department, Sienna, she's getting her PhD in this field, almost done with that. She's been with me for ages and ages as well, and really, really looks at the quality of the cases. Our clinical director, Evelyn Kong, she's amazing and oversees all these cases. I just yesterday added someone else to that, to the clinical department, who's also a very old-time supervisor who will just be looking around at all of the patient's progress. We have a lot of oversight, but having said that, you are the parent, and just become a team with your supervisor and with your staff. You will have difficulties, there's no question. You'll have therapists who cancel for one reason or another. You'll have therapist changes occurring because the therapist schedules alternate due to the fact that most of our therapists are also college students getting their master's degrees or something. And so, be patient about that stuff. Don't worry, don't panic. Work together with your supervisor and stay involved. A lot of the cases that the children that do really well is because the parent is involved and is able to learn. One of the things I plan on doing, I haven't done yet, I should do, is really start to mandate for all of our families to go through a whole series on IBT training, because I really feel like parent training is so critical. You will be trained through us anyway, because your supervisor will show you so much and teach you so much, but theoretical training, class time type thing on web-based intervention or training, which is what IBT does, Institute for Behavioral Training, is critical. It's really useful. I mean, you know this, Shannon, right? It's just the more you know, the more you understand what your child is doing, and the more you know how to intervene when we're not there.
Yeah. I always, the thing that somebody said to me at CARD that I wrote and put on a wall that we had in our house, or our condo, was, I don't want to be the weakest person on my child's team.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was the thing that overrode everything else. I want to make sure
that's a great saying.
Yeah. And somebody from CARD said it to me, don't be the weakest person on your child's team.
Right.
And that, I went, okay, I can do. It doesn't require that I be the strongest person. Right. Because I had some rock stars. Some of the people that are doing that training are rock stars, but to not be the weakest person on the team.
Right.
Which meant I had to frequently run to catch up with the pack.
Right.
But it gave me a goal.
Right. Absolutely.
And was essential.
Yeah, and also knowing that ABA is not just sessions of time that are restricted to 40 hours. When you know how to reinforce and take away reinforcers and modify antecedents and consequences and so on, you do it all day long, you do it all the time, and your child is essentially learning. You as a parent have a huge effect on handling certain things with your child. If I have a parent who's really involved and they're pretty consistent with how we handle challenging behaviors, the behaviors are gone in like 4 to 6 months, If I have a parent who doesn't understand how challenging behaviors shouldn't be rewarded and so on, and they keep giving in,
right.
The behaviors go on forever and it hinders the child's learning.
Yeah.
So there's a lot your influence as a parent is tremendous.
Absolutely. And I would just like to say, I'm reading what you wrote, and it sounds very familiar to me, because my son, he had his first IEP 2 weeks before his 3rd birthday, and he started with CARD 2 weeks after his 3rd birthday. And when I went in for that IEP meeting, he was significantly behind in everything, with one exception. He could stand on one foot in balance, and they said, in this respect, he's like a 4-year-old. And I kept clutching to that because it was the one thing that he was ahead. Everything else, there were things that he tested. He was about to be 3 and he tested as a 1-year-old. There was something that he tested as a 6-month-old. Mm-hmm. And, my husband and I left that meeting and I said, I don't know whether I want to go drink or go lay underneath the bed, not even underneath the covers, go underneath the bed. It just seems so insurmountable. How are we ever going to get there? And I remember during the meeting, they said, well, what is it you want? And I said, I want him to go to kindergarten on time in a typical class and be caught up. And the one woman said, oh, well, that's going to be difficult. And I got really angry. It was really a defining moment for me because I said, you know what? I'm an autism parent. Don't talk to me about difficult. Talk to me about what's possible. And what I was hearing from CARD was that it was possible. I didn't get a guarantee because all of our kids are different, but I heard that it was possible. If I did X, Y, and Z, it was possible.
Right.
And we have a video of what my son went through because he did go to kindergarten on time with his peers in a typical class, caught up. In that 2-year time period, CARD got him caught up. It wasn't to say that he was done in that moment, but he was ready for kindergarten.
Right. And that's a really important point. I mean, first of all, I hate that there are people out there that are still ignorant and are still just, they think they're actually doing you a favor by, telling you not to be hopeful.
Right.
Which I think is the most ridiculous thing in the world. I will never forget many, many years ago. Gosh, it's like, I don't know, early 90s. Mm-hmm. When I started to go to court for families a lot in the early 90s, that was in California. We were trying to get funding for everyone, so I was testifying on behalf of our kids a lot. And I will never forget this one hearing I went to in the Simi Valley area, and I'll just never forget that the judge, the hearing officer, it was with the regional center actually, and that regional center is much better and works with us much nicer now, but back then they actually, my telephone number, this is so far back, that was the first office, it was in Encino, and the phone number was 995 HOPE. It's spelled out 4673, it's spelled out HOPE. And the hearing officer was very upset about that. Why would I have a phone number that spelled out hope? And was I not being unethical in terms of giving parents hope? I mean, that's one example, and then I can take you back to just 2 years ago, Shannon, just 2 years ago, when we had a family in a different state, I won't say, and the Board of Psychology in that state where I'm licensed in multiple states, and the Board of Psychology of that state brought me up and said, because in that state we had published an article that showed that half of our kids had recovered, and the one of the people on the board brought me up and showed me the newspaper article, because we say recovery. I don't really know, English is not my first language, but I don't really know what the difference is between recovery and cure. I mean, there is some sort of a subtle difference, but I'm not sure I could vocalize it. Right. But anyway, the board officer brought the newspaper article because the journalist had written, card claims to cure children from autism, and he was like, this is unethical and completely unprofessional, and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, really? Why? I mean, this is a good example right here. It's like there's so many people that are doing great and functioning and speaking about it. And oh gosh, the day that, it'll be such a great day for me, the day that people actually accept the fact that some of our kids recover. And the issue is more that what you said, which is very important, is that it's not like you go through, some kids do. Some kids go through like 2 to 3 years and they're completely done with everything. Other kids, within 2 to 3 years, they join the mainstream, and they're not really they're at a point where they can interact with their peers, they can join in, they can come back and talk to you about it, they start to process and analyze, and then therapy takes another 4 years after that at a lower intensity. Right. But some of my kids who've recovered have been in treatment with us for 10 years. Yeah. But the point is that the more important point is there isn't anyone who doesn't improve. Yeah. So these are all really important things. Don't be afraid. Don't worry. You're doing everything right at this point.
You're in the right place, and you're so far ahead of the game that he's about to be 3. You've already got the funding for 40 hours.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
The whole first year I fought for that. I got about halfway through. I got the 40 hours on board. Right. And that first year, I would just say as a parent, fasten your seatbelt, be on the team, don't be the weakest person, and get ready for the ride of your life, because in a year, your life is going to look so different than it looks today.
Right. Absolutely.
It's going to be amazing. And you're concerned about, is it possible to get caught up? I know firsthand it's possible to get caught up.
Yeah, totally.
So it's doable. It's pretty amazing. We should take another break, and then we're going to come back with more of your questions after these messages. Welcome back to Autism Live and to Ask Dr. Doreen. We have with us in the studio Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh. She is an expert in the field of autism, and she is answering your questions right now on the live feature and on Facebook. You can go there, www.autism-live.com, and in the white box, just type what you want to put, hit enter, and it shows up magically here. You don't have to log in. You're not registering with a credit card. It's completely anonymous. Unless you want to leave us information so we can get back to you, which the next person, I'm not going to show the question because they've left their information. Hi, Dr. Doreen. Just wanted to know if you're ever going to be in the New Jersey area. I have a 3.5-year-old son who I think can be recovered because of all the stuff he knows and how he acts. But there's something missing. I don't know what. I would travel without thinking twice to see you. I would do anything for my son, but I can't due to my being an immigrant, so I can't travel. Please, if you are ever thinking of being around New Jersey, please let me know. And they left their email, and she said to say thank you to you. You are an angel.
That's very nice. I don't know why they can't travel as an immigrant. I mean, you could still come to California, but still, we have an office in New York, in Larchmont. We have another office in northern New York as well, but we're actually opening, and we have patients in New Jersey even right now. Like, we have a bunch of patients in New Jersey. I'm not sure exactly what parts of New Jersey, but I know that some of the supervisors from the Larchmont, New York office travel to New Jersey every week. They have patients there. So if you're interested in actually being seen by one of our clinicians in New York or in New Jersey, what you have to do is contact the Larchmont office. You can actually contact our 800 number here. So go on our website, centerforautism.com, and go in the admissions section, I guess, and just put it, ask for someone from Larchmont to get in touch with you.
And Emily can put up the 800 number too, so that you guys can see.
Absolutely. You can call the 800 number as well. So the senior, sort of the regional I guess, manager for the area in New York is Deidre, and she is fabulous. She's a BCBA, and she's a special ed itinerant teacher, and she's lovely human being, and she's spectacular with all levels of kids, and she's been with me for a long time. So I would recommend that you contact our Larchmont office and ask to have a conversation with Deidre. And then and so that's one thing you can do, because she would assign, we have very good supervisors in New York. They're very strong people, because they're all special ed itinerant teachers as well, so they're really strong. They would come out, evaluate your child, meet with you, and guide you, and then also tell you what your options are for funding. New York State just gave us insurance funding, yes. Yay. And so we can get insurance funding for you as well, depending on the age of your child and so on. So that's one thing to do. Seeing me is a different thing. I mostly now see patients. I mean, I see all of card patients as much as I possibly can, but just for treatment. But mostly parents come to me just for my opinion on if they're doing the right thing and what else they should be doing. So, I'm always happy to see you. I do go to New York. Not sure when my next trip is going to be. I know I'm going to the East Coast for a conference that we're doing in Florida, and then beyond that, I don't know that I'm going to New York this year anymore. But having said that, my travel is usually listed on our website as well, so that you can see the next time that I come out to New York. And we are expanding heavily in the New York area, so we're now growing Larchmont, which will be a center-based place, so that you can actually drop your child off there as well. And we're also opening a program affiliated with a church in Queens. And so I'm hoping that we will gradually just open many sites throughout the boroughs and all around New Jersey, Long Island, all around there, so that we can help families just like we have in California, and I think that New York is definitely, now that we have funding, that whole area, and New Jersey, of course. New Jersey is one of the states that has the highest incidence of autism. So we really want to be able to be involved there.
Really remarkable. Okay, so keep in touch, and we've got your email address as well. I will file that so that if we know that Dr. Doreen is going to New York, we'll be in touch. But I would encourage you to reach out to the 800 number and the New York office.
One of the things I always want to say, that like this other family who was in Florida who came and visited us, who was part of the Autism-Live show, if you have other families, if you gather, let's say, 5 or 10 other families, and they all want services, we have a process where if we actually get, and since I know we have 2 or 3 families already in New Jersey, if you guys are all in the same area and you find a few more families who might be interested in services, we'll actually open a physical site faster. In other words, our expansion department kind of lines the sites up based on the need. And so your New Jersey can pop up and go higher on the list, so that it would be early next year, middle of next year, that we open a physical site, transfer staff, have center-based services, home-based services, school services, everything, if we have enough clients there. So that's something you could do, is you could gather other families and talk to them.
And that's so doable, and so many other families have done it. One of the Mission Possible videos that we feature on the show and that you can watch on the card site, one of the families in Boston talked about when both of their children were diagnosed with autism, and she didn't know what she was going to do, and how they started as a workshop family but built into being an office, which is now 2 offices. Just because they said, what I need for my child isn't here. I can't be the only one. I'm going to start, and somebody will walk with me, and people do.
Absolutely, and that's what's happening right now in Florida.
Yes,
and
amazing.
This was a mom who listens to our shows. She's probably listening today.
Yes,
Hi.
and we say hello to our Florida contingent.
Right, and she came out, and I evaluated her child as well, and she has a program going, and she has a fabulous program going, because she's following the skills curriculum, and she's making sure everybody's doing the right thing. And she's a unique mom. There are some moms that are just like unbelievable and can move mountains.
She's amazing.
She's really amazing, yeah. I'm just amazed by people like that. But having said that, almost every card office, I would say, that we've had, and we're past 25 now, has been opened because of a group of families being there and saying, we need your help.
Yeah.
And then, we're very, very lucky now. It's so much easier than it used to be, Shannon. Oh my God. Like, now we have almost 200 supervisors who are board certified, and people transfer, people move. So it's not that hard to actually open an office.
Yeah.
There used to be a time when it was just me and like 5 other supervisors, and it was very hard to open new sites.
It's, the future is bright. And
absolutely.
The ability we've said for how many years we need to level the playing field and make this possible for everyone. We're nowhere near to that, but we're getting closer every day.
Absolutely.
It's very, very exciting. We should take another break. We'll be back more with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh after these messages. Welcome back to Autism Live and to Ask Dr. Doreen. We have with us in the studio Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh, an expert in the field of autism. This is just such a rare and wonderful treat and not that rare because we do it every Wednesday, but it's still, I get so excited about it because when my son was diagnosed, to have had the opportunity to have asked you a question in this format, I would have been homeless for a month for the opportunity. That's how much it would have meant to me, seriously.
I've always really wanted to do this. I'm so glad I get the opportunity to do this, honestly, because it's so hard. I don't think that there's very, very few families over the course of the last 30-somewhat years that I've seen where I haven't connected to the child and the family, and I feel like I've learned. I mean, anybody would learn if you were in the field as long as I have been, and I've seen so many kids and families and so on, and I've learned. And to be able to share that with a whole bunch of people is spectacular. It's lovely. By the way, how long have we been doing this show? I was just thinking about that.
It's been over a year. Well, This is our 403rd episode of Autism Live, Emily just said. But, if you go to our YouTube channel, there are just so many videos, and you can search them by different topics. We're starting to work on a feature where there is a text-written list of all the questions you've answered so that they can be categorized together.
I know, that's
and that somebody can look up and see, I want to look at what Dr. Granpeesheh has said about toilet training, and here are the different questions, and you'll be able to click on it, and it'll take you directly to that
That's
clip.
amazing. Is that on YouTube as well? Is that going to be on YouTube as well, that feature?
We're planning on giving that to the card site so that people can go there and find the frequently asked questions first, and then expanding it to all of them that you've done. We have 43 Ask Dr. Doreen, as Emily just said. That's a lot of 43 hours. And when you watch them on YouTube now, it lists all the questions in the beginning, and you can click on the questions you want to answer, and it will take you directly to there. So eventually we want them all compiled in one place where it's just a reference. You can click on the question, and it'll take you directly there.
Our anniversary is still coming up, I guess.
Well, yes.
Kind of cool.
So it is cool. It's a wonderful thing, and it gets me very excited to just be a part of it because I get to sit here and learn with all of you, which is an amazing treat for me. But back to questions. Okay. Hi, Dr. Doreen. Just wanted to know if you're ever going to... we already asked that one. Let's go back to the next one. Hi, Shannon and Dr. Doreen. Thank you so much for the great show. My daughter is 8 years old. She was diagnosed with ASD at the age of 3. She signs and uses AAC iPad application to communicate. She is aggressive with her younger sister, who is 4 years old. She pushes, pinches, pokes her sister's eyes in most of the opportunities. I think that this behavior is automatically reinforced by the sister's crying because it increases when the sister cries. It is tough to separate them, and I'm very concerned about my little daughter's safety. We really need Dr. Doreen's advice regarding this issue, and will highly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's not... I think this parent has probably had some training with ABA maybe, because they're using the term automatic reinforcement. This isn't automatic reinforcement. This actually has a function, and the function is to get her sister to cry. If that's what you think. Your perspective is that what your child's getting out of it is the ability to make her sister cry. I'm not sure why that would be reinforcing. Perhaps it's attention seeking. I'm not sure what happens when her sister cries, when your other daughter cries. Like, do you suddenly appear? Do you run into the room to try to rescue? You know, you kind of have to think about what the exact function of it is. First of all, so the concept again goes back to if she does that, you really have to identify the function a little bit better, because you don't, whatever the actual reinforcement is, in other words, let's assume it's the sound of crying. Okay, so she should be able to not get that, she should be able to get that through some other means and not by just aggressing towards her sister. I doubt if that's it. I don't think a lot of our kids really enjoy that. I think it has to do with what happens after her sister cries. You really have to analyze that a little bit better and see, like, what happens? Why does she enjoy that? Do you then come in and separate them? Does someone come in and give her something to calm her down? What happens that's reinforcing? And then you just have to kind of make sure that that reinforcer is given to her at other times, not when she aggresses towards her sister. Now that's easier said than done. The first step of what you do is you have to prevent it. So if that means you have to have someone there all the time, or they have to be separated all the time, you have to do that. That's step one. Behavior always initiates based on some function, and then it kind of becomes a habit. You have to break that habit. You have to not allow her to physically aggress towards her sister. Period. You have to block it. And then you have to teach her more appropriate ways to interact with her sister. Until those two things happen, she's going to continue to do what she's doing because she's getting a reinforcer out of it, and we haven't even identified what that is. So we're kind of clueless right now.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
So at this point, would you say that I'm feeling like an expert to do an FBA on this behavior is going to be like
that's
the best?
FBA. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you have a BCBA there, if you have someone who's knows how to do a functional behavior assessment, that's what you do. You can go online and use our FBA and BIP builder software and answer a lot of questions about the behavior, and perhaps that'll help you actually get the function. The function of the behavior is really the reason, like why is she doing it? Without knowing what she's trying to communicate or why she's doing it, we can't treat it. Yeah. You always have to do an FBA. If the person, FBAs are usually done by asking you a bunch of questions and perhaps observing the child. And that's how you normally can figure out. If it's very complicated and you can't figure it that way, then a board-certified person will do what's called an experimental FBA. An experimental FBA is they'll actually evoke the behavior and see what the child's getting out of it, and they'll change the circumstances, and then it'll become very clear. So you need to know the function of the behavior, because the way you treat things, challenging behaviors, is once you know the reason, like so it's attention seeking, or it's a tangible, which means she likes to actually see the child cry, the other child cry, that sort of thing. Once you understand all of that, then whatever it is she's trying to gain by her behavior is given to her for more appropriate behavior and is not allowed to be accessed through this particular bad behavior. So, but unless you know what the reason is, you're kind of lost.
Yeah, you might waste time and
do the wrong
put everybody
intervention
in jeopardy. Okay.
Right. But in the meantime, I really recommend that you block the behavior. You don't allow it to happen, because, you know, first of all, this is very harmful to the sibling, obviously. I mean, and secondly, our kids, sometimes our kids really, all they want to do is interact, and they don't know how to interact appropriately, so they do these, challenging and maladaptive behaviors, but really all they're trying to do is interact.
Yeah.
So you never know if you teach your child other more interactive types of activities, this behavior could just be automatically replaced.
Absolutely.
Teach her things that would involve maybe physical activity, running, sports types things. Maybe they can jump together on a trampoline. Maybe they can throw a ball back and forth. Maybe they can, there's, other things where there's some form of interaction, but not aggressive interaction.
Okay. We're almost out of time, so a couple of quick catch-up things. Our Florida contingent has said that, yes, they are watching, and that mom that we said is so incredible. She said, thank you for all your kind words. Very emotional moment. We're counting down. Our families are so excited. Definitely a great year, and she sends her love.
Thank you.
Another person wrote it and said that this show is the best kept secret that shouldn't be secret. They send their love, and she says, you are my lifeline. You are ours as well.
That's awesome.
Okay, and now we have a long question, but we need a quick answer because we're almost out of time.
Got it.
Teeth grinding, ugh. This
Tough
little
one.
boy will be 4 in December, nonverbal. He grinds and clenches his teeth at random times. I'm finding it is when he gets frustrated and or when he is asked to do something he doesn't want to do, or if he's doing something and gets distracted or interrupted. A mouthpiece would be hard to do because 1, I know he would not keep it in, and 2, he does it randomly. His OT suggested jaw massage and pressure, which does help, but when he is in the car and I'm driving, that is hard to do. It makes sense. I have found that since we are working on speech, getting in to say ah or ba 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 does get him to stop and open and loosen his mouth. All of this is a quick fix. I'm looking for something long-term to prevent him from doing it at all, not just stopping. Suggestions? I'm so afraid that he is going to clench so hard that he will break a tooth or worse, bite his tongue, and help in capital letters.
Yeah. I have to answer this one quickly, but I actually have a lot to say about this. Okay. So let me try to get to the point right away. For driving, when you're driving, make sure that he has these chewy toys that are like sort of made of rubber, and they're for infants who are teething. Make sure that you have something like that accessible, and make sure that you teach him. I mean, you're not going to be able to teach him if you're the one driving and there's no one else in the car, but you can, if you have a therapist on hand, or if you have a babysitter or someone can help you, start to replace the behavior first of all with having a chewy toy, because that'll stop hurting his teeth. So you'll give him, what he'll learn is that just before he's about to do that behavior, he'll grab the chewy toy and start chewing on it, so that he'll feel the pressure that he currently needs, but it won't be destroying his teeth and perhaps also causing problems with his jaw. So that's the first thing, just immediate. Second thing is things like, well, do we have the age of the child? 4. Yeah, so you could have someone teach him how to chew gum. That would be very good and replace certain we've found that chewing gum is amazing in terms of replacing certain behaviors. It's fabulous. So, a behaviorist could show you the steps of actually having your child learn to chew gum. We might even have that in skills as a lesson. I'm not sure. But you're welcome to write to our ARG, or Autism Research Group, on their website. They have a paper they've published on teaching children how to chew gum. That will help replace some of this stuff. Now, because of all the things that you mentioned in the first part of the email, it makes me think that the child might be slightly stressed when they do this. So really you need to teach the child other more functional ways of dealing with stress. And I don't know the level of functioning of the child, and the child's pretty young, so you just want to teach the child other things, like for instance, deep breathing. Like, in other words, when an episode of clenching starts, start teaching the child things like relaxation. Yes, OTs, also speech pathologists, will show you how to massage this area of the jaw, and so that the child's mouth opens a little bit. and then to do deep breathing and relaxation. This is the area that often people who clench their teeth, they need this area massaged. It's basically the mandibular jaw. So you have to like really massage that area and help the child keep their mouth open. Yeah, those are some fast ideas.